my name is Kaylin Fields, and I'm going to be telling you today about tattoos, piercings, and hair dye. A lot of people have biased opinions and stereotypical reasoning behind tattoos, piercings, and hair dye, and today I plan to give you a little background on those, not really discredit your stereotypes that you may or may not have, but more like identify the actual piercings or the tattoos or the hair dye itself, and maybe help background on the stereotypes so you feel differently, or maybe just help you understand because you might want tattoos, or you might want to get your hair dyed, or you might want piercings, and maybe this presentation will just give you some information on that. So we're going to talk about the history, and I'm going to throw in some examples so that you can see the different types and visualize what I'm trying to explain. For starters, we're going to start with tattoos. I went to the Smithsonian Magazine site to get my information, and what I had retrieved from that website was that tattoos actually date all the way back to 2000 BC on women mummies for the Egyptians, and there's also an Iceman who was discovered to be frozen for 5,200 years, and he was covered in tattoos for joint pains. As you see in the presentation, there's pictures for that. That's his actual body. The tattoos are very faded. Mind you, they are over 5,000 years old. But those are some examples. On the next slide, you will see some examples of tattoos as well on the back and on the foot. There's also a pain chart, which is an example on both the female and male body of where a tattoo would hurt the most. My recommendation is to start where it hurts the least, if you plan to get the tattoo there, where it hurts the least, and then progressively build up to the more painful areas so you can build your pain tolerance and or see if your pain tolerance is good enough to get more tattoos. And then some extra information about tattoos. That is a reason why a lot of stereotypes stand behind it, is that they fade and the colors don't last that long. Generally, if you get lighter colors, it will fade really fast, so it's best to stick with darker colored tattoos like red and blue and black. Black is probably the most vibrant color that will stick for the longest time. It'll still fade over time. There's examples there of faded tattoos. They do fade, but you can always get them retouched throughout the years. It's not like it's a one-time ordeal. And a lot of people get them for many reasons, actually. They have sentimental reasons. They get them for therapy. So it is very therapeutic. Like the Iceman, his joint tattoos were very therapeutic. That's why he got them. But people get them for therapeutic reasons, for medicinal reasons, for, like I said, sentimental, and sometimes they just get it because it's fun, as you can see on the Andy foot. Alright, now moving on, we're going to go to piercings. There are recorded a stone relief, according to Cool Piercings, a stone relief of a Nimrod, Iraq man who has one earlobe piercing that's between 7 to 11 millimeters long. And I couldn't really find proof of that picture, but I did find other stone relief historical objects, murals, who also had piercings, usually kings and other higher authorities within that time frame. In the next slide, you're going to see that there's a whole bunch of examples for piercings. You can get piercings on your face, on your belly button, on your ears, on your navel, and even in places that aren't so nice. But people get piercings for all kinds of reasons. Just like tattoos, it's very therapeutic, very medicinal, and some people get them just because they like to accessorize their body. There's different types of piercings. There's studs, there's rings, there's gauges, there's really thick earrings that are like gauges, but they have a normal piercing, so it can give that appeal that you have gauges. But there's all kinds of names you can see in the example, the different names of certain spots you can get pierced. Alright, and then the next slide Just like in the tattoos, I've included a pain chart for the most painful places to get pierced on both a male and female body scale. Now we're going to move on to hair dye. There's a whole bunch of stereotypes for hair dye, but hopefully I can help explain to you what hair dye actually is. Fun fact, in 300 BC, women in Greek had to dye their hair yellow to identify themselves as prostitutes, which I would imagine at the time was nothing shameful, was nothing to be too scared to, advertise yourself for. So they would make sure that it was known. Sometimes they would wear wigs, but that's when they started dyeing their hair, was when they had to dye their hair yellow. And then later on in about the 1800s, a man named William Henry Perkins accidentally identified the main ingredient in hair dye used today. There are some examples for the hair dye. What I'm going to explain is how it works. If you're trying to transition to a lighter shade or pastel color, you should most definitely bleach your hair. I don't recommend bleaching your hair too many times because it will fry your hair, and you want to make sure that your hair is healthy or else you won't have any hair to dye. If you're going with a darker color, you don't necessarily have to bleach it, but it helps to bleach it because it makes the color pop even better. And then if you're going to bleach it, it will become brassy sometimes. Because some people have natural red tints in their hair that they don't know about, or they do know about it, but it will come out when you bleach it. So one way to fix that is to use a purple or blue shampoo and or a toner to help get all that brassiness out. Unless, if you're dyeing your hair red, it's not necessary to bring the brassy out because, as a matter of fact, it will enhance the red or the orange if you're going to go orange. I've included some examples in the next slide of some pictures. Some people go natural. They do a nice little brown to blonde ombre, or they go completely non-natural and they do like lime green or blue or purple, or sometimes I just mix up the colors and include all kinds of colors. So I hope that this presentation was very helpful, and that not only did it discredit maybe some of your stereotypes that you had about piercings or tattoos or hair dye, but I hope that it also informed you in case you were planning to get either of any of those things, and that it helped inform you on maybe where you need to do it on your body to start off with if you're a beginner, or maybe just helping you figure out what you need to do with your hair if you're going to go along and dye your hair.